Hi everybody and welcome to Photomikes Garage. Today we're driving my 2009 Mazda 5 minivan. Ooh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? There's a clunking noise. It's been getting worse and worse and worse, and it can no longer be ignored, unfortunately. The Mazda 5 has been extremely reliable, if boring, but now there's a clunking noise coming from the front suspension of this vehicle. I'm thinking you can hear that. Okay, so this bumping is quite annoying, as you can hear right here. Yes, there's something loose in the front suspension, and I've got to fix it. Okay, so you can see that that's pretty serious. The car may no longer be safe. I've got to fix it, and that's what this video is about. Replacing the two lower control arms on a Mazda 5, because I'm 95% sure that it is the lower control arms that are worn out. I hope I'm right, because I bought some and I'm going to install them today and show you how to do it. With the help of my super mechanical cat, Billy here, we will replace those control arms. These are my new control arms. They look wonderful. They have all the bushings already installed, so it's just a bolt-in affair. As long as the bolts come off, this should be a fairly easy job. I'll put a link below where I purchased these so you can purchase them yourself. All right, the first thing you have to do is raise the front of the car and have jack stands for safety. Multiple jack stands for safety, because you don't want to get squished by your own car. That would make you look like an idiot. Wheels are off. Now, the day before, last night sprayed the bolts involved with WD-40 to try to maybe loosen them off. So hopefully everything will come apart easily. These are the two main bolts at the back that we have to take off. And they go up into captured nuts, in other words, welded on nuts that are on the top of the frame. So they unbolt from here. Hopefully that'll come out. And then on this side at the very front of the A-arm, lower control arm, is this bolt that goes right through to here. Hopefully that'll come out. And then finally, our new control arms come with a new ball joint, which is right here. And this is held in sort of a pinch, what would you call this? Comments below, what do you call this? But anyway, you take this bolt out, and then we should be able to get this down. It's got like a friction pinch hold here. Now the only problem I foresee right now is that this bolt, there's not much room between the engine here, which is over here, engine here, and the bolt. Will there be enough room? I don't know. These are the three different socket sizes you're going to need. Okay, this is, let's see, 17 millimeter, and this will take out the two bolts on the bottom of the rear bushing. This little guy is a 14 millimeter, and he will take out the pinch bolt on your ball joint shaft right there. And finally, big guy, 19 millimeter. 19 millimeter will take out the front bolt on the front bushing on the lower A-arm. You might also need a breaker bar. Okay, the pinch bolt on the lower ball joint, that actually came loose very easily. Now, that's just, of course, the first part of the struggle, but this one came loose easily. There we go. And the two bolts on the rear bushing are also coming loose fairly easily. And the front bushing bolt is now loose as well. Now you can use a hammer or a pickle fork to separate the ball joint from the hub here. This is a pickle fork. This is a big hammer. Okay, I finally got that lower ball joint out, but it took a lot of pounding with a big hammer to get that out. Okay, I've got the two bolts out on the rear bushing, but as you can see on the front bushing here, the bolt is almost all the way out, but it's hitting, as you can see, this bolt is hitting the transmission pan. So that's not going to come out easy. And of course, on this side, there's even less room between this and the engine block right here. So if the bolt's the same length, which I assume it is, then this engine's in the way. Now, what I have seen other people do and what I will have to do is loosen or remove this bolt. This is your engine mount, your lower engine mount, and then jack up the engine, a little bit, and maybe that'll provide enough clearance. Now I have disconnected the rear lower motor mount, and I've got my jack here, and I'm going to push up on the motor and hopefully raise it high enough so that I can get this bolt out and the bolt out on the far end as well. Okay, I have raised up the motor just enough for me to get the bolt out on the driver's side A-arm. So this whole side should now fall out. Let's see if it does. Okay. There we go. I finally got it out. And that took a bit of work. Okay. Driver's side out, passenger side still causing me trouble. As you can see, I've got the bolt almost out, but not quite. It's hitting the motor right there. Okay, this hasn't gone smoothly or easily. Basically, I disconnected the rear motor mount, as you know, and then I tried to raise the motor, but that wasn't enough. I had to loosen the bolts on the passenger side motor mount, both sides, down there, and that allowed the motor to rise up enough. As you can see, I've got my jack right under the metal plate for the air conditioning compressor. I had to take the plastic off here to see into this area. This plastic I just moved out of the way because the bolts are all rusted and they won't come out. And so I have finally got it up high enough to get this bolt out, which I'm now in the process of taking out. Come on, come out, come out. Ah, it's so close. Come on. That was quite difficult and took longer than I thought, but the lower control arms are out. The next step is to get these shiny, nice black ones into the car.
Day 2.
Another beautiful day here in Canada, and it's time to get those lower control arms back in. Okay, I've already got one bolt in over here. I've already got one bolt in at the rear bushing, one bolt in, and that was quite difficult. I had to push with my feet against here in order to get that one bolt in. I haven't been able to get this second bolt in over here. Okay, so I finally got the front bushing bolt in, the 19 millimeter. That took quite a bit of finagling. I had to bump it around, move it around, up and down, up and down. I had to use this little bit of leverage. I also got my first injury, or my second or third injury, and I just had to place it in there and move it around. So yeah, nothing lines up perfectly because everything's under some sort of tension. And but now that one's in. Now I've got to get still one more bolt in the back and then work on the ball joint. Okay, I started jacking up, and almost immediately, without being hammered on or anything else, as you can see, there's the jack at the bottom of the ball joint. And you can see that almost immediately it's seated. So now I just put in the pinch bolt right there, and we're getting near the end of doing this side. Now to tighten the pinch bolt down, you're going to have a wrench on one end, and of course your socket on the other end, and then you can, and there's socket on the other end, and then you can tighten this sucker up. All right, all the bolts, the ball joints installed, so now all I have to do is tighten everything up to spec. So the front bushing bolt is a whopping 120 foot-pounds torque specifications for that, okay? Your two bolts on the rear bushing have a measly only 75 foot-pounds specification. There you go. And for the pinch bolt, there is no specification. For the pinch bolt, there is no specification. You just tighten it up whatever you think best. So keep in mind that it is a small bolt. You don't want to really wail on it. So I'd say you've got to go as tight as you can go, and then a little quarter turn, and you're done. Now, unfortunately, to get my torque wrench in on the front long bolt, 19 millimeter, I'm going to have to again raise the engine up. So I've just got a little extra room. So again, I have to raise the engine up. There we go. Okay, everybody, it's been a few days of crying, tears, sobs, because as you can possibly see, the CV joint has come apart. Actually, no, the joint going into the axle has come apart because when I was trying to get the ball joint in, I kept pulling, I kept trying to maneuver this around, and it wouldn't go because already it had pulled out of the races. You can see as you can see, it has separated. So what's supposed to be not too difficult a job has become much more difficult suddenly for me. Okay, I got the inner part of the half shaft off, and that's done. That took a bit of prying. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole hub off. I'm going to take the brakes off, the brake disc off, disconnect it from the strut here with the big bolt right there, and disconnect it from the tie rod right here. And then I'll be able to take the whole assembly out with the axle attached without having to remove this bolt. Now, is this actually going to work? I don't know. Okay, the hub is out. The hub is out. As you can see, I have got my half shaft still attached to the hub. I had to disconnect the tie rod, which came loose. I had to disconnect it from the strut right here. That came loose. I took the entire brake caliper and bracket off with 2 bolts and hung it up here. So what I gotta do now is assess this for any damage and then put it back together with the hub. Let's see. Yeah, I've got to assess this for any damage, then put it all back together, put the rubber boot back on, secure it, and then put everything back in. Now the hard part will be putting the axle back in with the hub still attached, because this is quite heavy and a hard thing to maneuver. And after the axle's in, then I got to put it into the strut, which also may not be that easy. And as you can see, there's the tripod joint, as they call tripod, because of the 3 bearings, and this fits right into this cup. And all I have to do now that I've got everything out is put everything back together. Now I'm reusing my old axle, of course, because it's fine, there's no problem with it. But then I had another problem. This cup would not go over. It would not go over. It would not fit on, no matter what I did. And I got really frustrated. And then I noticed these little round dimples at all the corners. The bearings will fit right into these slots right here. 1, 2, 3, and right at the corners of each one there was these little dimples. And at the factory they dimpled the metal there to sort of fold it in slightly so that it would hold the bearings in place. So there's no way I could get my bearings back in there without working on this. So what I did is I filed it down. I filed each one just by working it with the file, just like that. So if you're ever in this situation the same as I am, where you're working on the car and you accidentally pull the bearings out of the cup, out of the part that goes into your transmission, you're going to have to do like me, take the whole thing out and then reinsert it. After I filed that, I was now able to fit this all on. It will go on. Yeah, it will go on. Just have to work. There we go. See, it'll go on. So now I'm almost done with this terrible project. I've got to clean out the old grease, put in some new grease, put it all together. I'm going to reuse the old boot because I think it's fine. I've got a new strap to go around here to secure it, and then take that whole assembly and put it back in the hole. Just like so. Yeah, just like that, she's on. Put the rubber over, and there we go. Okay, I've got my metal band on to retain the rubber boot. Everything is ready to go. Got a little bit of grease on the end, so now I'm going to put it back in the car. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, things are looking pretty good. I got the CV, things are looking pretty good. I've got the axle installed into the transmission. The C-clip is engaged, it's in there. I also got it, the McPherson strut started into its hole, but I gotta push this up all the way up to here. I've also got the ball joint started. That's got to go up a little bit further. That's in. That's the main issues. I'm going to get my my jack here. I'm going to push up on the ball joint. That's going to fully engage this and hopefully push this up into position. Also, this flange must go right through the slot right here to properly align the MacPherson strut with the hub. Yes. First I'll put back the MacPherson strut pinch bolt. So I'm gonna get this in. That is working. Okay, according to AutoZone, the torque spec for the nut that holds the knuckle hub onto the MacPherson strut is between 75 and 85 foot-pounds. So I'm going to put in 80 foot-pounds. The torque specs for this 14mm bolt are 35 foot-pounds. You got to put this cotter pin back in for sure. Tighten these ones at the back here first. I can't believe I'm almost through this job. This has been so horrible, I gotta say. I hope that it goes smoother for someone else doing this and they don't have to go through what I went through. Okay, brake disc is on, calipers on. The two 17mm bolts, if you can see, let's see. The two 17mm bolts are torqued to 75 foot-pounds. So everything's just about installed. Also remember to install the brake hose bracket clip, C-clip, that secures the brake hose. This goes in right there. I think I've got it all done. I can't believe it. The job is done. Okay, that's it. The lower control arms on the Mazda 5 are replaced. I had to go through quite a bit of extra trouble, as you saw, with the axle coming out and everything else. And I showed you everything I went through because you never know what could happen to you, so you should know what to do if that does happen to you. But anyway, the job is done. I'm really glad. The car's riding much better now. And yeah, so thanks for watching Photomikes Garage. And stay tuned for more exciting Mazda 5 minivan content.